Welcome to this episode of SoulShift. I am joined today by my co-host, Allie Anderson. Allie and I are thrilled to be speaking with our guest today, Dr. Tricia Pingel. So let me share a bit about her. Dr. Pingel brings a uniquely powerful perspective to wellness as a naturopathic physician who began her career on the fashion runways. As founder and CEO of Pingel Progressive Medicine and Total Health Apothecary, she combines medical expertise with creative energy to help stressed professionals transform perfectionism into power. Her integrative approach has helped thousands overcome stress, fatigue, and emotional challenges. Her best-selling book, Total Health Turnaround, has sold more than 60,000 copies, establishing her as a voice in holistic wellness. Drawing from both the image-focused world of fashion and naturopathic medicine, Dr. Pingel helps people reconnect with their authentic selves, proving that wellness flows from self-love, not perfection. When she's not transforming lives through her work, you'll find her breaking it down on the hip-hop dance floors, living proof that finding joy is the ultimate medicine. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So let's get started. Welcome to SoulShift, where modern science, ancient wisdom, and real life align.
SoulShift offers a peaceful pause in your week, a gentle reminder that meaningful change doesn't have to be overwhelming.
Together, we'll discover practical tools, we'll share authentic conversations, and honor the beautiful complexity of being human.
This is your invitation to breathe, to reflect, and to trust the process.
Thank you for being here. Let's shift
Gently.
Together. May we call you Tricia?
You may.
Oh, thank you. As you have so much insight and inspiration to offer our listeners, I wanted to introduce our tagline again to the listeners. SoulShift is where modern science, ancient wisdom, and real life align. So this leads to my number one question for you, Tricia. What's a truth your body or life taught you that no textbook ever could?
Trust, intuition, and letting go. Not trying to control things, When you do educate yourself, right, and you're a go-getter and you read all the books and you do all the things, you're essentially trying to control every little piece in your environment. And my life has taught me that the more you try to control and fight against the natural rhythm of life and experience, the sicker you get. And that often we just need to be enough and let go and trust and try to find the lesson in everything. And I think that's a plight of many overachievers, right? They just want to learn everything and do everything when really just being in the moment and experiencing it is the true value.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'm curious to know is how you shifted from where you were studying human behavior and what makes people tick to understanding that the important part is letting go, and that is truly what's necessary for true transformation.
Gosh, it was a health decline of my own body, and it was grief. I would say if I could sum up what made me change my mind towards how I looked at the world and how I lived my life, it was grief. It was extreme grief from my mom passing of cancer. And she had lived her entire life pleasing other people. She was a fashion model. She spent her whole life worrying about her weight. She spent her whole life worrying about how she was going to get to the next thing, trying to control everything. And when she left this world, it kind of left me alone. And it started to make me reflect on, wait a minute, what am I teaching my children? How am I really helping people if I'm stressed out and burned out? And it was a very conscious decision to say, okay, Tricia, you have a choice. You've come to a fork in a road. You're either going to let the past take you down by not dealing with things and trying to distract your brain, or you're going to return to yourself. You're going to go through the hard stuff. You're going to deal with it. You're going to let go of a lot, and with the hopes of thriving with no guarantee of that. And I chose that route. I just said, I can't do this anymore. I'm worth more than this. And that was really hard for me to do as a retired model, because it's weird. You would think that models would have all this self-confidence. We don't. You're fighting for approval by everyone all the time. And that caught up to me. And I decided I'm going to walk into a dance class. I used to love to dance. I'm going to walk into a dance class. The girls were 14 years old in there and ironically going through the very same thing I was going through. Who am I? Am I worth anything? Am I good enough? Is anyone watching? What are people going to think? Right? And I walked into this dance class and they welcomed me. And they were fumbling just like I was. And at that moment, I can say I literally took my life back. I said, no, I'm not going to do this. And since then, it's been a progression. I mean, that was 10 years ago. And every year, I add another layer of that, of how am I going to set my boundaries? How am I going to inspire my children? How am I going to inspire other people? How am I going to pay forward the joy and the gratitude that I'm learning as I go? And now I just wake up every day grateful. And I ask myself, how can I give back to the world today? And that's enough for me. That's enough now.
And you're certainly doing that.
Thanks.
Yeah, Tricia, your messaging is so beautiful and resonates with so many of us, myself included. So thank you. I really appreciate your messaging a lot. And I know our audience will too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you kind of talk about modeling being, you're relying on external approval, right? That's what modeling is. And I'm wondering how those experiences in that industry became your superpower to understanding what's making people sick today.
I love that shift on it, that it is my superpower because, you don't realize that until after the fact. I was 9 months old. I was put in front of a camera. That was it. It was like, this is what you're going to be. My future was determined by somebody else from the get-go. And despite resisting it at times throughout my childhood, it just was what we did. That was the family of what it was. And I didn't know any different. It's kind of like you're thrown into something you don't know any different. I just assumed you were supposed to just do what everyone said. You show up, you put on the clothes. By the way, this is your mommy and daddy today. You need to look like you love them. You need to play with them. This is your sister. Meet your sister. And I'm like, I don't have a sister, trying to figure that out as a kid. I remember being put on a job and my mom and I were both booked for the same job. It was for a computer company when the computers were boxes. This was like 1982. And we were booked on the same job, but there were two families on the job. And I was put in one family with a different mom and dad and a sibling. And she was put in a family with a different child. So they didn't even put us together. And I remember being so confused by that, but that was normal. Fast forward to my teens, it was the 90s. It was the time of the waif heroin look, right? So it was like, well, you really need to get on the treadmill more. Well, you really need to watch your diet. Well, if you want to book this job, you really need to be X, Y, and Z. It was normal. I think I didn't really come to terms to that. Really, honestly, even through my 20s and 30s, of course, I was getting a little bit more of my self-confidence in who I was, and I was owning who I was, and I was having more fun with modeling by that time by doing that. But I don't think honestly, it was until my mom was dying. And I said, do you have any regrets? And she said, I have one. I wish I wouldn't have spent so much time worrying about that 10 pounds that everyone wanted me to lose, because I would give anything for 10 pounds right now.
Oh.
I mean, she was 90 some pounds at that point, 5'10", couldn't walk, due to cancer and wasting away. And I think at that point I said, oh my gosh, I've been like worrying about what everyone else wants me to worry about. And I'm not worrying about the little things that I have control over. And am I doing that to my kids? And I started to look at social media and I started to see that although I was very alone in the 80s and 90s with the idea of living by other people, now every single child is living with that. Every single one. They're all on social media watching everyone else. I'm watching my friends watch everyone else. I'm watching us compare ourselves to other people. And with that, I know this was a long answer, but it comes down to my passion, right? I'm seeing anxiety. I'm seeing depression. I'm seeing suicide. I'm seeing people not believe in themselves, not love themselves, think that they're ugly, think that they're different in a bad way. Where now I celebrate being different, it took me a long time to get to that point. And I'm seeing it, what I lived in this weird little world that not many people experienced. There weren't many 12-year-olds that left, middle school to go shoot for Nordstrom's and came back, 6 feet tall with their hair in a beehive. Like I was the only one, right? And now I'm noticing that everyone else is going through what I went through. And now I have something to lend to the world for that, of that weird experience. And it has become my superpower.
Superpower indeed. And what would, Tricia, really And I guess that's what you mean by discerning between internal and external stress, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, external stress is what we all know, and we all have it, okay? Finances, relationships, the annoying coworker, whatever it may be, all these things that trigger. I call them your bears. You're walking in the woods, you see a bear, right? You freak out. You can name your bears in a heartbeat. But when you constantly release that cortisol over time, it depletes the internal environment. It changes the balance between serotonin and dopamine. It changes our nutritional status, in particular vitamin C, vitamin Bs, magnesium, zinc, selenium, which are all required to run our thyroid, to run our hormones, to break down food into energy, right? So when you don't have the internal, I guess, cofactors for your machine of energy, I mean, that's what our body does, right? It produces energy. That's its job. It's like a long conveyor belt. And along the way, it throws in some vitamin C and some vitamin B and some magnesium in order to produce energy. So when those start going away, the body has to scramble and it has to figure it out. So it adapts. And how fascinating that the body can adapt like that in a moment. Like, it's the coolest freaking thing. But when we're running all the time from these bears and we're constantly adapting, it causes internal stress. That internal stress causes more stimulation of the cortisol system, which causes more stress. And people say, okay, Dr. P, great. You just totally stressed me out. But here's the thing. If you can recognize the external bears, right? You can work with someone such as myself or a practitioner on working on the internal bears. But if you can recognize the external bears and you can change how you view them, you can change the way you look at that bear and turn it into a bear cub, or take it as an acknowledgement. Okay, I know there's a bear on this path, so I'm going to choose to go this way. You can make these choices. You can minimize those external stressors, which will help minimize the impact internally. And then as you start to repair the internal, repair the nutrition, repair the hormone balances, you can recover from this, from adrenal fatigue, from stress, and then moving forward, have less impact by it because you've changed and reframed the way that you look at the stressors. The biggest newsflash for people, which people sometimes I think can't comprehend. So I'm going to just tell you right now, the stress, the external stress is not going away. That's it. Like, it's not. There will always be another problem. There will always be a financial stress. You can make all the money in the world. You'll find a financial stress, right? It doesn't matter what it is. The difference is how you respond to it. That's what we change. And that's why two people can have the exact same stress and one person flies through it and the other person is taken down by it. This isn't about waiting until the stress goes away to take action, or waiting until after Christmas or when the kids graduate to take care of yourself. It's not going anywhere. There'll be another stressor. And that's something I think people need to recognize so they can take action.
Yeah. And the challenge also lies in helping people connect to the wisdom of their bodies so that they don't numb themselves to the feelings that they need to deal with, the fear of those feelings to be intolerable. And that's where we can help them.
We're scared of feelings sometimes, I think. And I think, and I get that because I've had to be poised my whole life and look like I have it all together, even if I don't feel that way. And what I've learned is the value of communicating those feelings. And often people think that means that you're, airing your dirty laundry to everyone who asks. No, but it's okay to say something like, hey, I'm struggling right now, but I'm managing. Thank you for asking. You don't have to tell them why you're struggling. They don't need to know every detail, but it's okay to acknowledge that every day isn't always a great day, or that it's challenging, and that these challenges are prompting learning and growing. And I think that's really important to reframe as well.
Yeah. But, as we're talking about stress, our bodies are designed to get us through stress. And sometimes the signals that our bodies send us are in an effort to protect us.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to ask you, is there such a thing as good stress?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, once again, it's about how you look at it. Our bodies are wired to manage stress, that to have a cortisol response to help us through times, right? And if it's acute, it's no issue. I think it's good. And I think when we exercise, for example, when I dance hip hop, 7 hours a week, right? I'm stressing my body during that moment. I'm pushing it. But it's from a state of gratitude, love, and joy.
Mhm.
And I allow myself recovery, right? I think in our current world, we don't allow ourselves to recover. And every stress can be a good stress, depending on how you look at it.
Mindset is everything, right?
100%. Throughout my career, I've seen people, they do all the right things, right? They eat right, they take the supplements, they do the exercise, but they can only get so far. And they can't seem to get that last little bit, that little bit that they really want. And it isn't until their mindset shifts and they really double down on the lens that they view the world through
Yeah.
and honor themselves, do I see that shift. I see more growth and health recovery from people who shift to a mindset of love and gratitude from blame and anger and frustration
Sure.
than I see with any supplement regimen, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and from scarcity to abundance, right?
100%.
Yeah, right. Let's talk about what technology is doing to rewire our nervous systems.
How long do we have? Um, people laugh because they're like, well, you're on social media all the time. I'm not really on social media all the time. I pre-record all my content. It's scheduled. I show up for a reason of fun. That is it. But when you sit there and we scroll, okay, let's think, this is an experiment for your audience to just have a better impact of how technology is impacting our adrenal system than any other lecture or explanation I could give, is leave the house and don't bring your cell phone. Everybody is like, whoa, where's my phone? They're checking their pockets. Did I miss something? They come home sooner. Like have you ever forgotten your cell phone and you go to the grocery store? You were like, well, maybe I'll go to grocery store. Maybe I'll go to Home Goods. Maybe I'll go wander around, and you forget your phone. So you cut your trip short so you can go home because you might be missing something. That is a sign that technology has taken over your adrenal system because you have become dependent on that stimulation for reward. And that is the interplay between cortisol and dopamine and our body saying, if we don't get this, we're not okay, right? There used to be a time where we went to work, to school or otherwise, and our phone was attached to the wall. And you didn't talk to anyone on it during the day. And you came home and you checked your answering machine with the little tape and you called people back and they were either home or they weren't. And we had a lot less. In all honesty, I looked at a study once of when did the rates of anxiety, depression, suicide, and mental health, when did all these diagnoses start to go up? And there was a pretty strong correlation. I wrote an article on it. A pretty strong correlation starting in the mid-90s with a significant uptick in the 2000s. And when I looked at the onset of the cell phone and then specifically the smartphone, there was a direct overlap on that. We are losing community, we're losing connection, and we're losing the ability to be creative because of the onset of technology. And although it gives great benefit when it comes to medical procedures, when it can come to even wearables, getting to kind of track things, I don't wear a wearable either. Because I don't need to be connected all the time. I think we're going to continue to see higher rates of diabetes, cardiovascular disease, autoimmune, definitely mental health, if we don't start putting boundaries on the use of technology and reconnecting with people-to-people interaction.
So why do you think that happened? Why do you think society has become so addicted to being busy?
That's a fantastic question, and something that I keep exploring when I look at what do people think success is, right? If you're trying to be successful, is that being busy? Like, to me, my definition of success in the past was, okay, I'm going to walk the runway. I'm going to do photo shoots. I'm going to have kids in medical school. I'm going to build a big medical practice. I'm going to have a great marriage. I'm going to take care of all my family members. Everything's going to be happy. I'm going to do all these things and I'll make this amount of money and then I'll be successful. My definition of success now is, do I wake up in the morning? And if today was my last day on earth, would the people that I interacted with say, wow, she was a really cool human. I'm going to miss her.
Wow.
That's success to me now.
Yeah, it's that transition from external pressure to internal wisdom, right?
Mhm.
So you mentioned adrenals before, and I wanted to just also go into your story about how you had your own battle with adrenal fatigue.
Yeah. I just pushed, I mean, I don't want to make the story too long, but that's how I spent my life, what I just described.
Yeah.
I did everything, everything. I had dying grandparents. I lost my dad at 24. That kicked it kind of off. I think the modeling throughout high school, I was malnourished. I definitely had body dysmorphia. I definitely had eating dysregulation. So I stressed my body. In high school, I was ridiculously thin. I had no muscle mass. I was not trained how to take care of myself appropriately. Going into my 20s, decided to go into biology, was going to be a veterinarian, which was ridiculously hard to get into. I had to study a lot, switched to human medicine. My dad had passed and did not deal with that grief. I just powered through. I just said, you know what? He passed. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm just going to go make him proud. I'm going to go become a doctor. I'm going to go make a difference in the world. And then I decided, to get married. I decided to have children. My grandparents started to decline. I took over the caregiving of them. My mom was diagnosed with cancer. I mean, it just piles on and on and on. And I thought I was doing everything right. I had chronic gut issues. My hair was falling out. I didn't sleep well. My hormones were a mess. My periods were almost unbearable. I powered through. And my body just at one point said, and this was after my mom died, I powered through her death too. My schedule was full when she died. I left an office visit to go to the hospital to say goodbye to her, right? I was booked for 2 months. And everyone said, take time off. And I said, no, I'm okay. I'll take time off when I'm open, which is 2 months from now. I just powered through. And my body literally said about a month later, no, you're going to take time for you. I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't love my life. I didn't find joy out of my children. I was losing the relationship with my husband, the connection. I was losing the connection with myself. I was not suicidal. I mean, I'm surprised. I was that depressed. And I did. I came to that fork in the road. I was like, okay, Tricia, this is your life. If you continue on the same path, this is your life.
So it was a breakdown that led to your breakthrough.
Yeah, it had to happen. And it changed the way that I worked with patients afterwards as well. I actually closed that side of my practice, the practice that was keeping me so busy, and opened a concierge practice at that time so I could have higher touch points, more connection, more community with less people, so that I could be more vested in their care and I could also take care of myself. And that was not an easy thing to do. I left a very productive practice to do that. But I knew that if I continued down that path and I didn't make a change, that even if my heart was still beating and I was still alive, I wasn't going to be alive anymore. And it wasn't worth it to me to do that. And I think all of us have that gut instinct. You asked me at first about gut instinct. It was my gut instinct that said, Tricia, you're worth this. Maybe it was me, the people I had lost from above, finally able to penetrate my existence because they weren't here anymore, to be able to call me to what I needed to do. I don't know. I don't know if it was divine. I don't know if it was them. But something said, Tricia, stand up. Don't do this. And I took the risk. At the risk of losing my family, at the risk of losing myself, at the risk of losing my entire practice, I just took the risk and said, I'm worth this risk. And I've built since then. And my only advice I can give to people on this is it's scary. It's scary to put every single thing you have on the line, but you have to sometimes for you because you are worth it. And fast forward to now, I'm 49. And starting to go through menopause. I had a hysterectomy a couple years ago. And people say, well, you're going to get worse as you get older. It's quite the opposite. I feel I'm connected. I'm joyful. I love my life. I love my kids. My husband and I have a good relationship. despite all the stuff I went through, I feel better now than I've ever felt in my entire life. So there is a total shift with that. You just have to know it's going to happen and you have to make it happen. Nobody can do it but you, and you are worth doing it. So I hope that if there's one thing people walk away with today is you are worth committing to yourself, whatever that is for you. And who cares what your neighbor thinks about it, or the person down the street thinks about it, or your clients think about it, or your boss thinks about it. Sometimes you just have to do it for you.
That's it. Your metamorphosis has begun.
Yeah. And I'm one heck of a butterfly, man.
I just want to say, Tricia, this conversation has been incredible. I know it's been incredible for our audience, but it's been incredible for me too. Listening to you, I'm so inspired by you just to say, like, it's okay to put ourselves forward, right? I think many of us as women, we're sort of conditioned to put ourselves on the back burner and take care of everybody else, right? I just love listening to your story and understanding that we're all kind of in that same boat of we're all going to burn out if we don't take care of ourselves. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for you sharing your story and how you got here today at 49 years old, going through perimenopause and thriving. And I'm thankful that you're willing to share with all of us and inspire all of us to address the stress in our life and kind of also find the joy in something like dance. If it's not dance, find the joy in something else, right? But to let ourselves take the time to find that joy. Yeah, it's really powerful. So thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I think also to realize that we're all going through this. There is a community here. You feel so alone. But I've talked to countless women and we're all like, oh my gosh, why do we have to do everything for... I was laughing the other day because my kids are like, Mom, where are my shoes? Mom, where's my backpack? Mom, is there anything for dinner? Mom, do you know where I left my keys? Mom, and I'm like, why? And I turned to him and I said, why am I supposed to know all this? I said, I don't know where you put your shoes. They're wherever you put them. Why would I know this? But we just, as women, we do so much for everybody else and we do know a lot, but at what cost?
Right.
We have to at some point say, you're responsible for you. We'll guide you and while you're young, but I have teenagers now. I'm like, guys, you can find your own shoes. You don't need mom to do it. And I'm going to go to dance class. I'll see you later, and I think a lot of women want to do that and are afraid to do that. And they feel like the world will fall apart if they do that. And I'm here to say no. And if you get a community of women together, we can all rise together and we can all set these boundaries and we can change the landscape and be successful in our own way without having to take care of everybody else to do so.
And we need to take care of ourselves first, as you so eloquently said, right? To take back what we gave up, what maybe we lost ourselves to. It's ours for the taking. And I think midlife teaches us the lesson and experience gives us back our power.
Agreed.
Yeah. So before we say goodbye, please, please, please tell our audience where they can find you.
Absolutely. Well, drpingel.com is a great start. drpingel.com. I have free resources there. I have a bunch of free resources. It has connections to all of my social platforms. I have a podcast called What Am I Modeling? That's on podcast platforms. There are also a lot of episodes on YouTube with the same name. And all I ask is if you do come find me, whether it's on Instagram, if you want to watch me dance, come on Instagram. If you come to Instagram, come to Facebook, come to YouTube, write a comment. Tell me where you heard me. Introduce yourself. Because for me, the reason I do this is to connect with all of you and to give you a resource. So let me know that you heard me, because that's my gratitude practice for the day, is how many people I was able to impact. So let me know that I had an impact on you so that I can have my gratitude day. And drpingel.com is the best way to connect to whatever you feel like you want to connect with me through.
Oh, fantastic. I was going to ask you what SoulShift means to you in this season of life, but you've certainly answered that. And you've inspired me, you've inspired Allie. I know you've inspired our audience. And I thank you so very much for your insights, your energy, and sharing so much of yourself with us and our audience. Really, Tricia, our hearts are full because of this half hour.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me as your guest. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
Thank you, Tricia.
Thank you for sharing this sacred time with us today.
We hope today's conversation offered something meaningful and nurturing for your journey.
Remember, transformation unfolds one gentle shift at a time.
There's no rush, just your own perfect timing.
Until next week, we invite you to carry one small insight with you.
This is not another to-do, but a soft gift to yourself.
If something spoke to you today, we'd love to stay connected, so subscribe to join us weekly.
And if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to leave us a comment below. Your reflections bring depth to this space and help others feel seen.
Remember, you never know what someone is going through, and your comment could shine in someone's heart.
Leaving a review or sharing this episode is another beautiful way to support SoulShift and help others find their way here.
With love from the SoulShift Sisters.
Remember, you don't have to walk this path alone.
Until next time, may your journey be gentle
And your heart full.